Hey everyone. So I'm fresh out of the theater after watching the FNaF 2 movie, and I just wanted to quickly throw my thoughts out there, and it wasn't too great, to be honest. Which is a real shame because I was really looking forward to this movie. I loved the first one, and while I can absolutely recognize its faults, at the end of the day it was still a very fun time. This movie though, where do I start? How about with what I actually liked first? First of all, the animatronics in this one still look amazing as they did in the first movie. They got the appearances down to a T. Everybody looks great, especially the puppet, which was the one I was most anticipating to see out of all of them. The references were also really good this time around. There were some ones that I didn't expect at all. Seeing Shadow Bonnie appear for just a frame got me really hyped. I'm really curious to see how many people actually noticed that on their first viewing, because it really was a blink and you'll miss it moment. Oh, and there was a scene in this movie that I said I really wanted to see all the way back in my first ever FNaF video on this channel. But there are some things that I would really like to see in this. For one, I want to see Matthew Lillard being creepy and luring kids like we saw Glitchtrap do in VR. Okay, now let's go into what I didn't like about this movie. Let's talk about the pacing first. This movie takes quite a while for the main characters to actually get into the plot. They spend the first 30-40 minutes of the movie not even realizing anything's wrong yet. The slow burn made sense in the first movie to ease people into the world and introduce the concepts of FNaF to the audience, but this movie did not need that. Besides the killing of the paranormal investigators, the beginning of this movie felt like a bit of a slog, where we the audience know that something's going down and we just keep waiting for our main characters to catch up to that knowledge. But out of all of my complaints, that's probably the most minor one. My biggest problem with the movie was the portrayal of the puppet. I know I just said I loved how the puppet looked, and I do, but for some reason, they introduced this concept where the puppet can possess people and their face becomes puppet-like and they grow puppet arms and legs, and it's really stupid. You're telling me you had this amazing looking marionette design for live action. It looks and moves beautifully, but you choose to do this and limit its screen time? They could have kept the concept of Charlie needing a host or a vessel to do stuff and get around or whatever, but just have the puppet float around that person. Every time we got to a scene with a puppet-possessed person stalking one of our characters, I just kept thinking how cool it would have been for it to have actually been the real puppet instead. One final criticism I want to bring up is one that a lot of people had with the first movie, where things just kind of happen or show up without any explanation, and you'd really only understand it if you've played the games or interacted with the community beforehand. I think the biggest example of this was Henry. He just kind of shows up and he talks like the audience is already supposed to know that he was William Afton's old business partner. He's pretty much the same Henry from the games, but I just can't help but wonder what the average audience member actually understood from his scenes, besides the fact that he was the dad of the girl from the opening scene. Oh, and I know I said one final criticism, but I just remembered. Michael Afton. Not a fan. First of all, he just feels redundant and very pointless in this movie. You could very easily remove him from this plot. All he does is lure the ghost hunters to the pizzeria and leaves for 90% of the movie and just comes back at the end to do the whole "you and I can rule this city, Spider-Man" shtick with Vanessa, only to then run away and get punched by Mike's friend from the first movie, who has never seen him before, by the way. This dude just sees a guy running out of a house filled with scary murder robots and his first instinct is to punch him. Like, what, he somehow knew that he was the bad guy? He wasn't even there for his big "I'm William Afton's son and I'm evil" speech. How did he know? Also, I'm now just realizing that this was the exact same problem with William Afton in the first movie, where he just shows up in the beginning, leaves for most of the movie, shows up at the end just to immediately lose. At least Matthew Lillard played the hell out of that role, and we knew what they were trying to set up with him and where his character would go. Michael Afton in this movie just feels so weird. Not to mention being a way less interesting character compared to how he is in the games. Michael in the games has probably one of the best, and only, character arcs in the series. He starts as a bully, accidentally gets his brother killed, and has to live with that guilt for the rest of his life. Then he learns that his father is a serial killer, and he spends the rest of his life trying to atone for the sins of his dad as well as his own, ultimately ending with him putting all of the souls to rest and sacrificing himself in the process. I understand why they didn't add any of that to the movie, since there's elements of that story found in Mike Schmidt's and Vanessa's characters. So why even add an evil Michael Afton in the first place? Like I said before, pointless. Anyways, that was my sort of review for the FNaF 2 movie. Not as good as the first one in my opinion, it left a lot to be desired. I really hope they step it up for the third and presumably final one. I want them to do my boy justice.
I'm the fun one!
Shout out to my awesome channel members, and of course, as always, thank you for watching. Remember to like it if you liked it, subscribe if you really liked it, and I'll see you next time.